All right. My shortest side, all right, that's this guy right here. So we can call him S, my shortest side. My longer leg here is that one. That's the side times the square root of 3. And my hypotenuse is here. That's 2 times my shortest side. So you have to have that piece memorized. You have to know that you have your shorter side. You take that shorter side, multiply it by the square root of 3. You get the longer side. Double it, you get the hypotenuse. That's your 30, 60, 90 triangle. The side that they gave me is actually the longer leg. The longer leg, in this case, square root of 3, equals my shorter side times the square root of 3. So basically, you just divide both sides by that square root of 3. Divide this by the square root of 3 to figure out what the shorter side is. What is anything divided by itself? 1. So that means my shorter side is going to be 1. So y equals 1. Once I know my shorter side, I can solve any of them. 1 times the square root of 3, that's my longer side. 1 times 2, that's my hypotenuse. So what is my hypotenuse here? 1 times 2. There we go, 2. Those are your answers. That's how simple this one is, okay? So don't overcomplicate it for sure. That's all you're doing. Once you know your side, set it equal to the equation for that side, and then just find the other ones. All right? So let's look at number 2 together. Number 2 is a little bit different. So for this one, we're going to say, well, what's the equation for the hypotenuse? Well, that is my shorter side times 2. So if I know my hypotenuse is 4, what's the length of my shorter side? 2. So my y here is going to equal 2. If I know that my shorter side is 2, how do I find my longer side? 2 times what? Yeah, you're done. That's all you do. Shorter side times the square root of 3 is the longer side. Shorter side times 2 is hypotenuse. You're just working by what you have and solving for what you don't have, okay? You always want to find out what the shorter side is because that's what everything is based off of. So if they give you your shorter side, you're good to go. On number 3, they gave you the shorter side. That times the square root of 3 is the longer side. That times 2 is the hypotenuse. So once you have your shorter side, you can have the other two really simply. It's when they give you one of the other two that you have to think about what you need to do to get the shorter side. If they give the hypotenuse, you divide that by 2 to get the shorter side. If they give you the longer leg, you divide that by the square root of 3 to get the shorter side. Okay? For 45, 45, 90, both the sides equal each other. And you just multiply that by the square root of 2 to get your hypotenuse. So 45, 45, 90, the legs equal each other. The hypotenuse you multiply by square root of 2. Okay? That is your very basic ones. The bottom ones are not basic, okay? They're not basic. Let's look at the bottom ones. Let's look at number 5 together. This left triangle is a 30, 60, 90. The right triangle is a 45, 45, 90, all right? They want me to actually give them hypotenuse. So they want the hypotenuse of the 45, 45, 90. But I have to solve for part of my 30, 60, 90 to even get there. All right? So let's look at the 30, 60, 90 first. So this is my 30, 60, 90. Which side, the short leg, the longer leg, or the hypotenuse did they give me? Hypotenuse. So they gave me the hypotenuse of this guy. I need to find the one that is a common side to the other triangle. So I need to find this guy right here. This guy right here. Which one is that? Is that my shorter leg or my longer leg? Shorter. So my shorter leg, so my hypotenuse, let's talk about hypotenuse. That is my shorter leg times 2. So what do I need to do to that guy to find my shorter leg? Divide by 2, right? So I'm going to divide by 2 to find that shorter leg. Remember our rules. You can divide outside and outside, right? So I can divide that 8 and that 2. All right? So I can reduce this. So that means this side, my shorter side of my 30, 60, 90 is going to be 4 times the square root of 2. Right? I'm still not done. I'm just using that to solve. What I now need to do is look at my 45, 45, 90 triangle. which is this one. I need to look at this. Now on this one, I have one of my sides. So for my 45, 45, 90, I know one side is 4 square root of 2. I know the other side is 4 square root of 2. Correct? It's a 45, 45, 90. What I need here is the hypotenuse of this guy. On a 45, 45, 90, I take one of my legs, because they're the same, and I multiply that by the square root of 2. So I multiply that by the square root of 2. So I'm going to take this side, or this side, and this is going to be my side times the square root of 2. Yes? Everybody see that? What happens when I multiply square root of 2 times the square root of 2? It's the square root of 4. What is the square root of 4? 2. So to solve for this, I just have 4 times 2, because these multiplied together are just 2. So what is my final answer here? 4 times 2 is 8. I am done. All right? 4 times 2 is 8. So I just used my 30, 60, 90 to get what I needed for the 45, 45, 90 to solve, okay? You're just working around when you have two that are put together. For regular polygons, your formula, which you do need to know, is 1/2 apothem times perimeter. Remember, your apothem is the distance from the center perpendicular to a side. So in this case, they have given us our apothem of 10. All right? Your perimeter is your distance all the way around. They didn't give us that, but they did give us one of the sides. And so I can take one of the sides and I can multiply by how many sides that I have. In this case, how many sides do I have? Yeah, I have 9 sides, right? So my apothem they gave to me. I can plug that in. My perimeter, I have to say 7.3 times 9. That's my perimeter. All right, 7.3 times 9. And then you can just plug it in. 0.5 times 10 times 7.3 times 9. When you plug it all in, you should get rounding to the nearest tenth, as your instructions tell you, is 328.5. So if you have your apothem and a side, just plug it in, all right? Side times the number of sides you have is your perimeter, 1/2 apothem times perimeter. So those are the simple ones, all right? You're going to have a couple of those where they're just, do you know the formula, all right? Then you're going to have a couple where they don't give you everything you need, like the bottom part of this page, okay? Same formula, but then you have to calculate your apothem or calculate your side to be able to find what you're looking for. So let's look at this one, number 13. This is a 6-sided figure. They gave us the radius, okay? They did not give us the apothem. And so we have to figure out then what the apothem is, all right? So we have this little triangle that we have created. We know the hypotenuse of this triangle. We need the apothem, which is going to be the longest leg of this triangle. And we actually need the shorter side so that we can calculate the perimeter from it. Now remember, when we solve for this guy, it's only half of a side length, okay? It's only half of your side length, so don't forget that when you're solving these. We also have to figure out what type of special right triangle we have, all right? Remember, the insides are always 360 divided by the number of sides, right? So I create 6 little of these triangles in a 6-sided figure. So that means in a 6-sided figure, this whole thing is 60, which means this little piece that I pulled out is 30. So this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle, okay? This is my hypotenuse. This is my shorter side. This is my longer side. We just did these. If the hypotenuse is 16, how do I find my shorter side from hypotenuse? Divide by 2. Remember, my hypotenuse is just double. So that means my shorter side here is 8. My shorter side here is 8. Which, by the way, if this is 8, what's an entire side length here? This little piece of my side is 8. It's 16. You have to double it, right? You have to double it. So my entire side length is also going to be 16. All right, my entire side length is also going to be 16. What is my longer leg of this triangle, which is also my apothem of this guy? If my shorter side is 8, what do I do with a 30, 60, 90 to find the longer side? 8 times what? 8 times what for a 30, 60, 90 triangle? The square root of 3. So this side is 8 square root of 3, which is my apothem. That's this right here. All right. So my apothem is 8 times the square root of 3. One of my sides is 16. What do I need? I need 1/2. Apothem, I have perimeter. I don't have perimeter, but I have one of my side lengths. How many sides do I have? 6. So I'm going to say perimeter is going to be 16 times 6. All right? So I have my apothem. I have my perimeter. I'm just going to plug it in. 1/2 apothem times perimeter. All right? Rounded to the nearest tenth, you should get approximately 665.1. Okay, 665.1. So you're going to have to pull out a 30, 60, 90 triangle, or if it's a square, it's going to be a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So like for number 12, that's going to be a 45, 45, 90 triangle, okay? Pay attention to what's your shorter side and your longer side so that you know what you're solving for. And then just use it to plug in an apothem and perimeter. Okay, so you really need to know that first page because it's very important to be able to use it on that second page. Circles, you do need to know pi r squared. You will have to use circumference as well. So area is pi r squared. Circumference is 2 pi r. You need to know those. Remember r being your radius. So if they give you the radius and they want the area, just plug it in. In this case, they did not give you the radius. What did they give you? The diameter. So when they give you one like this, you must cut it in half or you're going to get the wrong answer, okay? So for this one, I am going to use 2.4 here as my radius. I've got to cut it in half. And then just plug it in. Pi times your 2.4 squared. Pi r squared. They want it rounded to the nearest tenth. So it is units of feet, where it is area, so we're going to square it. Square feet here. 18.1 square feet. You will also have a section, and actually this next two sections will kind of be combined. So you will have a section where it says radius, diameter, circumference, area. And it will give you one of those things and you need to fill in the other 3. These are just some examples of what could happen, okay? In this case, they gave you the circumference and they want the radius. They want the radius. So circumference equals 2 times pi times r. They gave you what that equals. So 35.8 equals 2 times pi times r, and I am solving for r. So you're just using algebra. Divide both sides by the 2 pi. 35.8 divided by 2 pi, rounded to the nearest decimal, one place, is 5.7 centimeters. So you do also need to back into it. You'll be given some pictures of circles where you solve for area, and then you will be given just the verbiage where you have to find the radius, diameter, circumference, area, depending on what they've given you, okay? So the next one is an example of where they gave us area and they want the diameter, okay? They want the diameter. Well, area equals pi r squared. All right, pi r squared. So if I'm solving for this, I have 113.1 equals pi r squared. I'm solving for r because that's all I can solve for. Divide both sides by pi. So r squared equals 113.1 divided by pi. How do I solve for r? How do I solve for r here? Square root. Yes? So in your calculators, you're going to have to put the square root. So r is going to equal the square root of 113.1 divided by pi. What are they asking for your instructions? Find the what in your instructions for number 23? find the diameter. So what do I have to do to that number? Once I find that, double it, okay? So to find the diameter is going to equal 2 times whatever you find here. In this case, it ends up being 12 centimeters rounded to the nearest tenth, because it actually rounds out to 12. So you have to see, what are they asking for? What have they given me? And how do I back into it to find it? How do I back into it to find it? Okay, it'll be in like almost a chart form where you have radius, diameter, circumference, area, and they will give you one of those and ask for the other 3. Okay, so you have to be able to find all of them. All right. The last thing we did are sectors. We actually did segments, but I didn't put any segments where you have to subtract them back out. You just have to do the sectors on the quiz. You'll have segments on your test. But for this, remember your formula here. The area of a sector is going to be your angle, whatever that is, over 360 times your area formula, pi r squared. So whatever your angle is over 360 times pi r squared. My angle here is 45. 45 over 360 times pi, r is 5 squared. And again, this is in decimal form, so you just have to plug that in, all right? You just have to plug that in. And here you should get 9.8. It is area, so this is also square units. Your area is also square units. It was kilometers. Area is going to be kilometers squared. Okay, kilometers squared. So you need to know your special right triangles, side square root of 3, 2 sides for 30, 60, 90, or side square root of 2 for 45, 45, 90. You have to know your area of a regular polygon, 1/2 apothem perimeter. You have to know your circles, which those are probably the most familiar. Circumference is 2 pi r, area pi r squared, and you have to know sector, which is basically just your area of your circle, and then you do degrees over 360. All right, degrees over 360 pi r squared.